As soon as it says it's recording. Did you bring enough for everyone, Kevin? You're muted, don't worry.
Nope.
All right, let me go.
At least I finally found you.
There you go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go into my command. I'm going to minimize the thumbnail videos here. I really don't need to see my ugly mug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a listing. First thing I want to do is I'm actually going to pick a listing. And the reason is within DocuSign, I need the information, some of the information that needs to be filled out. You get from the MLS. Mr. Tolbert, give me an address.
2808 4th Street, Orlando, Florida.
It's already pending, huh?
Yeah, the top one.
Do you have one that's, anyone else got one that's not pending per se? I just want to.
All right. Active.
I got one for you.
Go for it.
15601. Dahoon, D-A-H-O-O-N. Dahoon, Holly Lane.
Dahoon?
You got it. Holly Lane. There you go.
In other words, we want to at least have something that we can go off of. Okay, so I'm going to go with, as a buyer, I'm going to go ahead and create my opportunity. Normally I do that through the contact card. But since she's been in 16 trillion transactions. Now, just to let you know, and making sure everyone is aware, compliance requires the street address to be contained within the opportunity name. So when you have a listing, you already know what the street address is going to be for that. If we'll say the final street address will be. My best practices for the buyer, because I have buyers that seem they make an offer, then they go to, it's usually the second or third before they actually get an executed contract and close. I leave the opportunity name for buyer as is. Since this is a test, so that KWRI wonders why it is that I'm looking to, what was the price on that?
$415.
We're going to say they had a, just for that reason. I want 8% on my side.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people have been reaching out to me with respect to the phases and stages. By default, it puts in cultivate. Cultivate someone that you're working with. Maybe they're not ready to buy or sell at that point. You're cultivating, you're working with them, you're nurturing them. Then you actually move them to an appointment phase. And then from there, once you have a signed listing agreement, they're in the active. So let's just say, for example, we've already scheduled an appointment with Daisy. Is anyone on, oh, well, I know Maria, but anyone else that's on the team recognizes that you need to assign other members of the team to the opportunity in order for them to see the opportunity within command. So of the people that have access to my account, the only person that would be able to see this particular opportunity right now is me. I'm assigned it by default as the owner of the opportunity. Because I'm too lazy. So way too lazy. I always make sure this matches for the address. If anyone has, I almost thought about doing one for her, a buyer or seller, one of your contacts in your database that has signed up using the app and or on your agent site, you will see that they are registered. Matter of fact, I'll show you one here real quick, just so you I can now guide her through the process to let her know where it is that she's at. The pizza tracker, if you want to call it, for the guide. So if I move her and say she's completed this, we're going to the next step, she gets a notification.
Can we associate them with the app if they're not coming in that way?
They have to download the app. They have to sign it up. They have to sign up.
Okay.
You can kind of create an account for them, but if they're not physically using the app, what I've had people do was I told people to do, you know, their email address, and when they ask what the password is, it tells them it's their phone number. Details we filled out. We've got everything done except for what's down here. In normal classes where I'd be going through everything in grand detail, I would recommend getting used to putting in, when did you schedule the appointment with said buyer? When was the appointment held? And when was the buyer's agreement signed? Once you have an executed contract, what was the contract date? And what is the estimated close date that's on the contract? You're not going to fill out the close date till you actually close, because you could either close early or if you had some sort of delay. Excuse me. Now, let's see, Waterford's the only office that doesn't have this right now, but you come over here to where it says pick checklist type. This is a buyer for a single family home. I want a buyer for a single family home. When I do that and we go to under contract, the list that is here is the one that, or the documents that compliance essentially is looking for this type of transaction. So if I changed it to a condo, you would have to see rider A, it wouldn't be rider B, and you would see the different. There's a slight difference in the listing, as you can see. So
Okay,
what I did was I'm sorry, go ahead.
Up there at the top where it says add an item, is that where if we needed a custom form, we could add it right here?
If you wanted to add an item, what would you want to add?
Well, let's say the COVID addendum.
What I would do is add that down here.
Okay.
But if you want to, you could. I mean, believe it or not, it wouldn't hurt. You could put COVID addendum, put addendum, and whatever you want to, however you want to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the main purpose, is if you wanted to add something special like that, being that it's not required by compliance, you can always add a custom folder and then put in there, if you want to say, you can actually name the folder COVID addendum if you want to, and then put that in that particular folder. So we're going to go here, we're going to say single family home, and I'm going to go to start a transaction. I'm going to select DocuSign for those who have both DocuSign and .loop connected.
Chuck,
Yes.
really quickly, I'm not seeing single family home under the residential buyer folders.
Which are you in Waterford?
No, Lake Nona.
You should see those lists right there.
I see new construction, vacant land, condo, FSBOs.
You should have a single family home.
Strange. Okay.
Well, you know what? Let me look. I can look real fast. No one sees this.
I do have one that just says residential with 9 forms on it. So maybe it's that one.
Oh, this is buyer. Yeah, yours is going to say residential. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Because German was inside the folder when I was creating them. In other words, that's all you had yesterday. Yesterday morning,
Okay.
This is all you had. I had to add these. I wanted to rename them, but he was working on files. So
Got
if
it.
I renamed it while he was working on files, it was going to mess up the files.
Okay.
So I will go back and change that once I know that German has everything cleared. And it'll say buyer, single family home or townhouse.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. As soon as you said that, I was like, I wonder if that's the one that he caught me on. He tells me, go ahead, change everything. Wait a minute, you gotta wait. Which is it? When appointment? So we actually went to DocuSign rooms. One thing I want you to notice, no matter what all the information you put in here, about the only thing that's going to carry over is the name of the opportunity.
I did not see when you went into the DocuSign rooms. I'm sorry.
When I came to documents
Okay,
and I clicked on start a transaction,
got it.
it
And
went
then-
straight to See, I'm already in DocuSign room, so it didn't ask me to sign in. That's generally what it will ask you to do, is to sign in. But since I was already in DocuSign rooms here earlier, it didn't ask me to sign in.
Okay,
By default, it shows up on here and it says documents. Problem is, of all the information that you may supply, I'm going back and forth, so don't let me lose you. Everything that you put in here does not really translate over here. Even though we have a button that clearly says sync transaction, that might as well say refresh the page for now. By default, best practice, start in the details tab. So you're going to want to notice that on the left side of the left side of this page, it's kind of more transactional information. On the right side are what they call the room participants. I'm going to scroll down so you can see them. But on the left, you're going to see things about the property. On the right, you're going to see things about the seller, listing agent, buyer, buyer's agent. By default, right now, DocuSign allows a maximum of 2 pre-assigned buyers and or sellers. You do not have to fill out every piece of information in there. However, the more information you fill out, the less information you'll have to physically fill in later. Now, one thing I do want to bring to your attention, under buyer agent 1, which would be me, 1, the email address is wrong. 2, the company's wrong. So it will autofill information incorrectly, especially with respect to you. I've already opened the ticket and I've already asked them, I said, what's going on? So this information here is wrong. I don't use that email address. This is not my broker. Company is the same as broker with it. Keller Williams Advantage. So it doesn't fill in all the information, so be wary. When it autofills, you need to just go back over it and make sure everything's accurate. Everybody good on that?
yes.
Now, I'm going to edit some of this information now, including information from the listing. So I may be going back and forth, but all I'm going to be doing is taking and making sure we have as much information as we need in here, so that when we get to the forms, like we're going to submit or have our buyer, quote unquote, sign, it's pre-filled as best we can. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm just going to give her a bogus email. That drives me insane that they do that to me. So much so, I misspelled my own name. So I want to make sure the buyer agent and the buyer, you really don't need anything other than the name and email address. The DocuSign room is for you. It's not for compliance. Compliance doesn't go in your DocuSign room. So they're never going to go in. Remember how they went into .loop? That's what we used for compliance. Well, DocuSign is used for you now. It's for you to collect signatures or split documents, however you want to do it. Compliance doesn't go in there. Now I need to go to the listing, pull up information for the listing itself. Is it Ashley Rivera?
Correct.
Chuck, there's no way of just adding the email, the MLS number, and it would auto-populate, or we still have to?
We have to type all this garbage right now.
Okay.
I wish it were otherwise. It's supposed to be coming.
Okay.
So's Christmas.
That's when you get to leave the house.
Oh, please no. That's way too long.
Should we let him in? And I can collect all the information per se, but the main thing I want to get is making sure I have an email address. Learn spell. Let's see what else I need. I'm down there. I don't even really.
All right, who let Lawrence in?
Only person allowed to let anyone in.
Thank you, sir.
Moi. Normally, to be honest with you, I will put information in here. It's more for my TC to see than anything else. I'll put the address and all that. It's not as critical. However, I do want their name. I do want their email address, and I do want the brokerage. So just so you know. What was the tax amount on that? 3805. Lot size. Was it a quarter? What's my government one? Up to a quarter. Is there a garage? Do you have to put this? No. This right here helps later on. However, it's more for your records than it is anything else. Because it really doesn't do anything in command. And command is where the green sheets lie. So I'm going to say the offer date's going to be, let's say they're going to sign up for tomorrow. We're going to make the contract for 425. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Shit.
This title. Eventually what's going to happen is when we do like the entity holding the earnest money, like right here. Eventually they're going to get all our contacts that we had in .loop will appear here.
Oh, wow.
So if you've done business with them in the past, they eventually will, because right now you're going to see a bunch of Keller Williams agents. That's all you're going to see right now. But what they're going to do is that there will be your personal, and it's starting to fill up. I'm watching it start to fill. But it will be nice that if everyone that we dealt with before, we're able to pull that information up and it populates everything for us. That is coming. Let's see. We'll go conventional. You know, Daisy's got the money to spend cash, but she's not looking to, you know, go flashy right now. I personally leave the room name, which is this right here, as it is. Should we let them in?
Is it Lara?
It's Lara.
I just invited her.
Definitely let her in.
They'll be in here in just a second.
Why not the address, Chuck?
What's that?
For Daisy Duke, why not the address?
Up here?
Yes.
She's a buyer.
Ah, no address yet.
Well, she can change it. Remember, this is DocuSign. I don't need it. This is not compliance related. Once it's in DocuSign, I can call it whatever I want as long as I know what it is for. Now, when I come over here and I'm going to get the address, worst thing is, you know what, I'm taking a screenshot because I'm blind. I'm getting old and I forget crap. Drag it over to my other screen and make me look like I remembered all that from scratch. Yahoo. Get to watch all my calendar crap go haywire on me. Orange. 4787. Yeah. It's a state of confusion. Property type is a residential detached. Year it was built. Special circumstances. It's always a contingency. Do you have to fill out contingency? You ever had a listing where there wasn't at least an inspection contingency? Someone's thinking. So I got this information here for now. I'll go ahead and save this. I will let you know now that one thing that I've opened several tickets for with both DocuSign and KWRI is where's the property ID? Where's the legal description? The information that we normally would put in almost in every contract needs to be there. If I ever ask you to vote it up when they tell me I can, I'll have you vote it up for me. Documents. By default, you're given a room docs folder. Everyone see this here?
Yes.
This is your, Lawrence, remember this? This is the catch-all.
Yep.
Everything goes in the room docs, whether you want it to or not. So the first thing I'm going to do is I add a folder. The first folder I always create is forms. The reason I create forms is the forms are the reusable kind of autofill type of documents within DocuSign that are based off the information contained in the details. And especially with the buyer, if they make an offer and then they make another offer and they make another offer, I need the forms where I can go in and change the offer to update it to the most recent. I need to know where those forms are, so I keep all the forms inside a folder called forms so I don't have to look for them. Nothing more than that. I have found that it's very beneficial doing that. Next thing I'll do
Chuck,
is
how did you do the folder? How did you do the folder for the forms?
click actions,
Okay,
add folder, and then forms.
okay. I'm on my phone, so I gotta shrink it.
problem.
Into. All right,
Now, the
Okay.
next thing I do is I create another folder
okay, gotcha.
for those who are doing a listing. I would, if this were a listing, I would put 1, seller docs, if I were doing the listing. The reason I do this is DocuSign has a tendency to want to alphabetize the room name, the folder names, I'm sorry, the folder names. I want my folders in chronological order. So this is the first folder, in a sense, that I'm going to create for my buyers or sellers. If I was a listing agent, I want my listing documents always up top, so I know where they're at, always. Being that this particular room that we're working in is for a buyer, I still use the 1. Then I put 15601 Dahoon Holly. I don't need anything more than like a street address to remind me what was the offer for, which property. Because if they go and they go through, they make an offer, it doesn't go through, whatever I'm going to go through all the problem getting the paperwork together. Then they don't have this one go through, but they find another property and they make another offer. I still have to use the same opportunity, and I still have to use the same room. Well, I want to keep all the Dahoon Holly offer documents separate from anything else. Does it make sense?
Yep.
Now, let's go ahead and add some documents. First, we're going to start with add. DocuSign forms. Yes, this is what's happening in DocuSign right now. There's the delay of gray, 50 shades of gray here. They've been so overwhelmed with everyone working from home. And we wait. Meanwhile, the house is already sold. And we wait, and we wait. Bless you. Okay. I wish I could say I was surprised by this, but this is how long it's been taking. Now, the first thing that you can do this in either order. I basically do it in this order. I leave it at Forms Library. From there, I go to Select Library. I'm going to select my home office's documents. From here, I can select the KW Advantage documents. Buyer's property waiver inspection. And, if they want to waive the inspection, that's fine. If I have the preferred buyer agreement, I'll put that in there. Wire fraud prevention notice, I can put that in there. Although it's not needed because it's also in the broker's buyer disclosure. The notice of brokerage affiliation. I made sure that was put into everyone's boxes, if I would say. It used to say the notice of broker affiliation. However, we had to remove that because that was applicable when Lori was the broker, and now that she's the owner OP, we have to put notice of brokerage affiliation. So those are the 3 that I see that I need right off the top of my head for my buyer. And I click add. Where are they going to end up, Lawrence?
In the room.
Ah, come on, room docs.
Room docs, yeah.
That's what you meant. Now I need to get the actual, if you want to say, the buyer forms. Go back to add. DocuSign forms. And now we wait for 50 shades of gray again. It should go a little bit faster this time. The reason I also try to keep everything out of room docs. The reason for that is when I send the buyer's packet to the buyer to be signed, when he signs and it comes back to me, it appears in room docs. And the boss said, no problem. Now I'm going to change it from Forms Library to Forms Group. From the group, I'm going to pick buyer, single family home or townhouse. So if I'm going to use the as is, if there was an HOA, the listing agent probably has it in the paperwork. I'm going to assume there is. Since we are doing a conventional loan, we're going to go ahead and have the appraisal contingency. I don't think we need the lead-based paint for a home built in 2017. I get this from title, but if you want to put that in as a reminder that you need to receive the escrow deposit receipt verification. Then there's the wire fraud prevention notice buying. Like I said, it's already in the broker's buyer disclosure. I'm not adding it myself. There's no need in adding things we don't need to add. So I'm going to add those. Where are they going, Lawrence? Which folder? I'm going to go back to the listing. There's the HOA.
Sorry, room docs.
Like the dog that barks once the trouble's gone. All right.
Nice.
So I'm going to take all those because I want to have these, of course, for my buyer. So now I want to bring these two documents that are on my computer into the DocuSign room. So now when I click add, I'm going to say computer. They're going to be in downloads. So I'm going to click there. Let's see if it'll let me take them both. There we go. 1 and 2. Everything shows up. That's what I want. Now you can move these documents one at a time, or I could take every one of these, click on select all, select move, and move them to another folder in this room. So right now I'm going to move them all to forms just for now. I just don't like anything in room docs. Plus, now that I have everything here, I want to take this particular, you notice these say form, this says PDF. I'm grabbing, left click, hold, drag it up. You see how the blue border around the light blue field is gone? And I could drop it. It's now in that folder. So this is a PDF. It is not a form. And this is for this particular address. This is where I want it. Any questions on how I did that?
No.
So I'm simply going to click on the as is contract. And all I did was just click on it to open it. And as you can see, it's filled out some information for me. Now, excuse me. Only for brevity's sake will I do this. I'm not going to fill out every single piece of information. But I think you agree, everyone should know, you want to go through and you make sure you fill out whatever it is that you need to fill out with respect to the contract. Are we all in agreement there?
Yes.
Agreed.
So what I'm showing you is that there's certain information that will be filled out. The tax ID, we can get that from the listing. Legal description, I have to say you may want to be careful. Oop. Only because the length of what they give you on that first line is deceiving. Will it fit there, or is it going to be too long? So I always try to go through there just to avoid any problems. If I need to, I can go here and check that's going to be made within 3 days. I would go in, fill in, of course, the address, do the balance to close. You know, their financing, I don't know, we'll say. And we can put whatever we want for now. Closing date. If I remember I said it was gonna be, I don't know. We'll make it a good one. So you go to my, make sure you put the full year and not 20, because people can follow behind and do. But go through, do the checks that you need to do, make sure all the information that you need, like you normally do with any contract. Make sure it's filled, do whatever it is that you need to do within the contract itself to make sure it's all filled out. If you make any change to the contract like I did, always use the save and close. If you simply open any form, for example, if I simply just open the preferred buyer agreement and I make absolutely no changes to the preferred buyer agreement, if I look down here and I'm not making any changes whatsoever, go up to this X where it says close, or you can hit the escape key and close it, and it closes much faster. If you use the save and close, it takes longer to close simply because DocuSign is checking to see if you made any changes to the document at all. Does that
Will
make
the
sense?
initials and signatures be added automatically, or is that something that you need to insert as well?
When we get to the envelope, that's when you'll see that.
Okay.
That's the beauty of using the forms as opposed to the PDFs.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make sure there's at least something in here. And again, I know that I'm cutting steps out. And if anyone needs further explanation, please let me know, but I'm just leaving it out for that reason. If I want to leave that blank, we'll say it's 10 days from closing. This is something I kind of want to let you know on the appraisal contingency. You know, if I need to, maybe I'll zoom it so you can see a little bit better. When I hover over the box where it talks about the appraised value, can you see what it comes up there? It says optional number and then room.offer.minimum appraised value. When it says optional dash number, I would not be able to type in the word purchase price because it's expecting a number. You notice here, it says optional and then there's nothing after the optional. I can put text because it's normally going to be expecting like a date. So it doesn't know how you're going to format the date. However, this one is expecting a number. So if you wanted to add the word purchase price to that, and we'll do that within the envelope, you're going to have to do that when we're in the envelope. So I changed that zoom back down. Everybody's like, what the world? They went blind. Since we haven't changed anything, I can use that there. Now let's say that I've got everything ready and I'm ready to send it to my buyer, prepare to send this to my buyer for their signature. Changes that you need to make once you're in the documents can only be made to forms. This is the reason I have the forms separated. Changes made to any of the flat PDFs will be made, anything like the initial fields or text fields that you may want to add. Those are done within the envelope. Since I'm going to select all of these to send to my buyer to sign, I will select all. Be wary with using the select all, because when you do select all, it will select all. So if you only wanted everything in this one folder, and when you get further along into a transaction, you know how many documents you can have. You don't want to select all, and then all of a sudden you've moved everything to the wrong area. So I just want you to be careful with using that. I want you to notice, take a look right here in this area right here. And when I teach the classes, when I'm in the classroom, I always say, this is your little sub menu. Keep your eye on this right here. Watch it, watch it, now it's gone. What you need, in order for the menu to appear, you have to at least select one document. Doesn't matter whether it's a PDF or form. So it's a little menu for, by the same token, if I were to select the appraisal contingency, document actions, it's also there. So everybody kind of see it when you either have the menu, when you select the document by itself, you can open the document, it'll be up there, or if you right click. So there's multiple ways to get to where you would do e-signatures and things. I want all of these documents, and I want to send them to Daisy Duck to DocuSign. When you click the DocuSign, the only thing you are doing at this time is starting the creation of an envelope. This is slower than the 50 Shades of Grey. Up top, envelope name. Remember, DocuSign is somewhat internal. You do want to have an envelope name, but please, DocuSign's not really going to tell you why you sent this envelope. This is for you. Why are you sending this envelope? I'm sending the offer to Daisy for Donald to sign. She's signing that offer for this particular property. That's why. I want to know why. These are the documents, of course, that we added in the last step, previous step. I'm going to go down to the very bottom for a second where it says message to all recipients. I do leave this DocuSign where it says please DocuSign. I leave this for my buyers or sellers because when they tell me they didn't get the email, I can tell them to check their spam for please DocuSign. So I can put please DocuSign, offer, documents for Dalton Holly. Then I could put a personal message to Daisy. You know, something that says, you know what, Daisy, here are the offer documents for 15601 Dalton Holly Lane, Winter Garden. Please review, sign an initial where needed. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at blah, 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 blah. So make it a personal message. Remember, this is a relationship-based business. Let's be personal about it. This is the part that I want to make sure everyone kind of, especially if you're on the phone, so let me make sure you can see it on your phone, okay?
I can.
Okay. Add recipients to the envelope. There are 3 ways. Email address. This is probably the least preferred way. However, the email address is the only way to add a 3rd or 4th buyer and or seller. Again, the email where it says add recipient email address is how you would add a 3rd or 4th buyer or seller. Remember I told you DocuSign by default has 2 buyers, 2 sellers. That's what it's capped at. You would have to go in, type in the name, type in the email address, and then basically make sure they know what rights they need to sign or they need to view something, whatever the case may be. Room participants is nice. However, Room participants, if you select this, it comes up with all the people from our details tab that were listed. There's our seller, there's our buyer, there's our listing agent, there's our buyer's agent. If I were to use this to populate the people that are receiving the email, the envelope, I'm going to have to drag initial and signature fields all over the place. Normally, you would have to do that. If it's a flat PDF, you're going to have to place the initial fields, the signature fields, and date sign fields for the signatures in the respective documents. So if you have to use room participants, you can select them, but when it comes time to sign, you're going to have to do a little bit of dragging. This will all make sense once we get to the next step. So bear with me. The best way and most preferred way, pre-tagged roles. You're only going to see the option for pre-tagged roles if you have at least one form in the envelope. If you notice, most of our documents in here are forms. If you have at least one form in the envelope, you will see pre-tagged roles. So it's going to say, who's the buyer? You know, that's Daisy. Then it's going to say, who's the seller? Whoops. And who's the seller? Am I going to send to the sellers? No, but I'm just letting you know they would populate it. And I could get it to do it, but I'm not going to go into the advanced. I want to make sure Daisy receives and she needs to sign. So all I've done at this point is put the address on the envelope, and now I'm stuffing the envelope.
Chuck, a quick question.
Sure.
If you do the tag folders, that option that you selected those recipients, and then you need to add the third and the fourth,
Like the
buyer,
sellers?
then you can go to add recipients again and do that last option that you were talking about?
Right. So if I needed, like if there were 2 buyers here now, and I needed to add buyer 3 and
Right.
buyer 4,
Okay.
I would use email address.
Okay. So you don't have to do them all email just because you have a third. You can do the first 2 with that, and then.
Well, you're going to want to do it all in the envelope at once.
Okay.
So let's just say, for example, I'll do pre-tag role. Let's say that I say buyer 2 is, let's just say it's Shannon, just for now. All right, so now I have my first 2 buyers, and now let's say that I need another buyer. I now have another buyer. So now I'm going to click next to go into the envelope, start getting the envelope ready even more so. What I want you to notice is now that we have all these buyers, I need to put that name for that buyer there. I want you to notice they're color coded. Is everyone seeing this?
Yes.
Daisy was the first, then I added Shanta, and now there's me. All I'm clicking is where it says name. So what will happen is when they actually receive the email itself, it's not going to say full name, it's going to say what's up here. It's going to say what's there. Now, if you remember, the as-is contract was a form, correct?
Yes.
And since we told it already with the rows, look. So the only one who's missing It's me. You can click and you don't have to drag it. Just move your mouse over. There you go. I just added my third buyer. It's as simple as that. Now, if I'd have been smart, I would have held the shift key, because when I held the shift key, I could also place it here. So if I go like this, hold my shift key and drop it, and did I say normally do it? I'm using the wrong computer, but I can drag it down. So it knows, if you notice, the ones that were pre-tagged roles, they have the initial fields automatically. They're automatically there. It's the buyer that I had to add by using email address. You don't see their initial field there. Everybody seeing that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So you'd have to do that across the board with all the forms, correct?
Right. Well, you have to do it. Yeah. Anywhere where the pre-tagged are added, you're going to have to add the third.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. If you had a third and a fourth buyer, or third and fourth seller, yes, it's a pain. I wish I could tell you it was otherwise. I mean, I could do this. I could say, you know what? I'll put that there. I drag a little square around it and copy it. Come down here and paste it. It's going to put it exactly where I put. Paste it again. See, I don't have to be exactly where I need it, but it's putting it in the same place on the page that I put the priors. Paste it. Now, if I paste it, now if I come here, I'm going to need to add a signature. So I would literally put it here. And you see where there's a signature, there has to be a date signed. That is a compliance requirement. So you can see that. I want you to notice on the right-hand side, do you see how there are three colored tabs to let me know that on this page, all three people had to sign? You can see the pages that I skipped, and then where I went back and started putting the last buyer on there again. So the next document will be the appraisal contingency. Now, this is going to sound confusing, so I'm going to have to go over it maybe several times. Remember I was talking about how we couldn't put purchase price before?
Mm-hmm.
Now we want to put purchase price here. I'm going to come over to the right so that I can add the text. I like doing it this way. Then I like misspelling it too. You can click on read only. The recipients can collaborate, so it's a required field. I will tell you now, even though I click all that, it's supposed to make it so everybody sees it, no matter who sees it first. It's not always working that way. So what I normally would do anytime I have to add a text field, no matter what document it is, no matter how many documents, even if it's just this one, I will make sure that I send the envelope to myself first, even if it's just to review it or to view it. Remember how .loop, when you sent something and someone reacted to it, it burnt it in and said it's now .loop certified? So if you send it to yourself first, even if it's just to view it, it's now DocuSign certified, and the purchase price remains no matter who sees it after you. It's supposed to stay on there with everything I clicked. I've seen it not do it. So I'm just letting you know, be wary of that. That's the only reason I'm bringing that up. So we go to the next document, and this is all we do is go from document to document. The writer B, HOA community disclosure. This was a flat PDF. So this one, we would literally have to add the initial. Now let's say that I resize the initial so it fits in the square a little bit better. We'll just say for discussion's sake. When I add the next initial for the next person, it keeps that size. Because it assumes that's the formatting that you wanted. So it keeps the sizing, the formatting for you. Come down here. So we're going to need a signature. And a date signed. A signature. And a date signed. And I know because we're all running into where there's more than one or two buyers or sellers. And you
The
drag it.
signature doesn't. The signature doesn't take the date stamp on it, date and time. Like
There's a stamp on there, but they're requiring us right now because of the
Okay.
coding. Remember how .loop the date was obvious?
yeah.
DocuSign, I think you have to know ASCII,
Okay.
so it's not as obvious to them. So I'm like, that's what they want right now.
Okay.
We go down. Jenny. Preferred buyer agreement. The first two will be there, but remember the first two fields. Whoops, not initial. If I'm going to be consistent about it, full name. Oops. Full name. So does everyone, you can see how easy it is just to simply add the fields. You know what needs to be there. And let me go just for, and this is because I've had numerous agents ask me about this. Well, you know what? I'm not charging the $395 brokerage fee to my buyer, to myself, whatever the case may be. How can I get rid of that? Very simple. Within the envelope, and in the envelope only, if you look to the left-hand side, do you see what looks like a little pin here? It says markup tools. You click it. Then you get what's called a line. Come over here, click the beginning of your line and the end of your line. You want to change the color of the line, make it black. You want to make it thicker, you want to make it longer, whatever the case may be, but now it's gone. So you've taken out, that's a strike through. That's all that is. Everybody see that? I would add the names there and add an additional buyer signature down here. This one is where I definitely would take advantage of what I was doing earlier, because for the most part, the buyer's initial fields are all going to be in what? The same area, correct? So what I'm going to do is go with initial. So now you're asking, well, you just put 3 for Daisy Duck. See how this one is highlighted? Come over here, I change it to Chuck. I come over to this one, and I change it to buyer number 2. Now I have my 3 initial fields. Wow, this is the old one too, page 5. I'm going to draw a rectangle around them. Then I'm going to copy. Control C for Windows, Command C, I believe it is for Mac. And then I'm going to go to the next page. I don't have to get to the bottom and hit Command or Control V. So if the initials are there, I just have to get to the next page. See how I made sure I'm past the page break? There's the initials. Get past the page break. There are the initials. And get past the page break. And there are the initials. Now, I guess you could probably imagine I will do the same thing with the buyer's signatures. Then I would copy it and basically bring it up here. Which is funny, they didn't even sign. But that's copy and paste, and that's all I would need to do. Now, if I want to do, when you do recipient preview, and I heard a lot of people tout the recipient preview for a lot of things, and it's decent because you kind of get an idea of what they're going to see. But what you don't get to see is a lot of things that were added by us. For example, if I'm looking as Daisy Duck, she's not going to see their initial fields over here for the other 2. So I don't want you getting confused. If you need to know, you need to be looking in this view. Now, let's say you get to this point and we've done everything. Let's just say, for argument's sake, we've done everything and we're ready to send it, except, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and add myself to receive it first because I added that purchase price field. So if you click right here, it says back. And I'm going to add a recipient. Since I am the buyer's agent, I'm a root participant. And I'm going to add me to receive it first. Now, if you look over here, everybody has number 1. That means we all have first come, first serve at this particular envelope. I don't want that. Oops. I want me to receive it first, and all I need to do is to view it. In other words, all I have to do is to look at it. The best thing about looking at it from this perspective is you're going to see the final product that's being sent to them to sign. And then once you've done that, you can go back to next. Everything that we've already done has been saved. That's kind of one great thing about DocuSign. It auto-saves. See, everything's still there. Once I am sure that I am ready to send it, I'm going to send it. Yes, sir.
I see that you're on there twice, so that means that the first one is just a preview, then you add the signatures after that, or you sign after they do?
I'm on there twice, one as the third buyer with a different email address. And
Okay.
then once he's made, are you talking about in the room participants?
Yes, so I was just assuming that you're the listing agent that's assigned like the lead-based paint or something like that, but you want to run
Right,
everything
right.
first and then signature.
There's when you look at room participants,
Uh-huh.
you will always be listed twice.
Okay.
If you're the buyer's agent, you'll be shown as the buyer's agent. If you're the listing agent, you'll be shown as the listing agent. You will also see yourself listed as the agent owner of the room. If you look in here, you're the agent owner.
Got it.
That's what you're seeing. The second version of me was the agent owner.
Chuck, question then. So that means
Yeah.
you're gonna have your two emails, one for the regular email that you use for everyday life, and then
I used that simply so that I made sure I had just an email address in there. That's all.
okay, cool. Thanks.
Now, let's say I want to view. See how it says I need to view?
Yep.
Well, now let's say I view it. Sure, I'll allow you. See how it's giving me the information?
Yep.
Now, I'm not going to see this. This is the information I want to make sure is fine. So I'm going to close. Let's say that I go, oh, no, something's wrong with that. I really don't want that going out. So I'm going to go back to room. It generally doesn't go back to e-signature. Yeah, I know. Congrats. We all know DocuSign's being crazy.
Congratulations.
Let's say that you know, let's just say that you know, oh, this is not right. Something was wrong. Okay? Go right here, void the envelope. This will basically, if they do receive the email, they open up the email, they try to click the link to start filling out, it's not going to work. So if you do this, make sure you notify your party, hey, I'm having to do this. You can hit the correct, but if you want to stop everything, because you know, like a major error, I'm mainly stopping it so Shanta doesn't get the garbage emails that she'll get from us. But I can say reason for voiding. Bad email for Daisy. She's no longer at a@b.com. It says voided.
Will that go away after a while, or it stays there?
It'll stay there. No, it stays there.
Okay,
It's an envelope. It's a history of your.
that's right.
It's a history.
Awesome.
I want to see it. If I have to void something, I want to see. You want to have every piece of evidence for all of your stuff. You never want anything. Now, I'm trying to remember, Lawrence. Do you remember which room I was showing you? I think it was Mr. Manuel, if I remember. You were asking me why I was doing the folders in the manner that I did them.
Yes. Yep.
Here's his first offer. And his next offer. We didn't get too far on that offer. Thank God we didn't do that offer. There's his offer. There's my forms. So you could literally follow, and it's all nice and neat. So everything in here is related to that address. Everything in here related to that address. Everything in there. It makes it easier for you. Now I want you to see, mainly because I want you to see this too. Do you see where this says signed? Can everyone see this? A little green check mark?
Yes.
So when you send a form out, like the as-is contract, and they sign it, and then comes back, it will have that little green check mark saying signed. However, it's the same as a PDF. It is now a flat PDF, which is the reason I keep the forms available, especially for my buyers, so that if I have to use them again. Remember, we were talking about the timestamps with respect to the with DocuSign.
So, Chuck, once you voided that envelope,
Uh-huh.
does that mean that you need to do it all over again?
Yeah. Normally, I would try to correct. If I found a mistake, I would correct it.
Okay.
However, I'm voiding that one so it doesn't constantly, because I would she would open it, then I would void it, and she'd start, it would be almost get caught in a loop.
Mm-hmm.
Since I had Shanta's, I added her in there, I could have just made it a bogus address. But yeah, you could correct it and then make whatever changes, and then you'd be fine.
Okay,
I've
so
done
you're
that
gonna
several times.
just open whatever the form that you made the mistake is, fix
Right,
it.
or wherever the mistake was, go in, correct it, and then it sends it back out again.
Okay, got it.
Somebody asked about the date for DocuSign. Can you tell me what the date is on that one? Not by looking at the date signed over there. Actually, that's hex. That's hex code. So that's why I'm saying that's the reason right now, which is funny because if you look at the timestamps on DocuSign, they're so random. I don't know why they're even considered useful.
Why are they random?
I have no idea. You could literally send something out right now and they sign it, and when it comes back, it could be in Hawaiian Aleutian time, it could be in Greenwich Mean Time. I don't know. The timestamp is not consistent at all.
Could that pose a problem if we're trying to meet a deadline, like 5 o'clock or something like that, and it says, "Oh, you signed at 6."
That's what well, that's just it. The time zone's on there, but the problem is, like you're saying, why isn't it local time?
Yeah.
Or system time or device time, whatever the case may be. I've already brought this to their attention. I said, I had one envelope, 3 signers. All 3 of them signed within 5 minutes of each other, but if you looked at their times, they were hours off because they were in different time zones.
Interesting.
And I'm like, that's not acceptable. For the very reason you're saying, if I had to beat a 5 o'clock time, deadline, and it doesn't look like I did when I did, that's when I'm dialing pile and wall. That's all. But that's all there is with respect to basics. I understand this was basics for the DocuSign rooms. So I'm opening it up now for questions again.
If you make changes to the document, say, for example, changing the closing date, does it also create
Update the
another
details.
document in the room?
It updates the details.
So it won't create another document, the same document with the updated information?
Correct. You talk about if you updated the form to a different closing date,
Correct.
you updated the form will update the details, the room details. But it's the same, it's a form. It's supposed to be, if you want to think of it, it's not in stone until someone signs it or views it.
Okay.
So once they've signed it, then you could have different versions of the same document.
So you would
That's
have
sort
it.
of, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
you would have the same document twice in your room. For example, you get
One
it,
would be a form,
right?
the one that you sent to be signed, and then you have a PDF that'll say that little green check mark.
Right,
That will be a PDF of that actual document that was signed.
right. But then if they come back and say, I want to change the closing date because I realize I need an extra week, if you go back to manipulate the one that's already been signed with the green check, does it create a new form to update the new information?
Well, depending upon which form you're referring to as being signed, because if you're talking about the as-is contract and then they want to extend the closing date,
Right.
then that's an addendum. You're not changing the contract.
Well, no, that's
Are you
prior to
talking about a counter offer?
No, I'm talking prior to get executed, because we have buyers that come in and say, okay, I want, to close
Yeah.
within 45 days, but then I realize I have to be somewhere 2 weeks later, so can we delay the closing? So if we want to manipulate the one that hasn't been executed,
Yeah,
will it
okay,
create
yeah.
a new?
If go in there and change it and it
It will-
updates the form, yeah,
Right.
update the form.
Okay,
Yes, I've had that happen too. You know what? I just realized I'm going to be on vacation or we're going on a cruise. So can we wait a week? Sure. Have you signed it yet? No. Only problem is if they've opened up their envelope,
right.
there's a chance it won't let you make the correction.
So then we'd have to go ahead and revise it and create another
Well,
document.
no, you still have the form.
Okay,
Just resend that form.
okay, gotcha.
You make the correction on the form, resend that form. I want to, let me go back and show, if my apologies, I meant to show that earlier. Because I remember that was something that Lawrence and I were going over on our previous call that we had. That's good. Mainly, I'm going to use them mainly because until he buys a house, I'm going to talk trash. No. He's a great example. Look at the documents and tell me if you see a common theme.
All the top ones are okay. They're signed.
Well, they're all for 5773 Oak Lake Trail or whatever it is.
Right?
Look at the name of the documents.
I can't see it. My phone's too small.
Let me see if I can increase the size for you. Do you see it now?
Charles, let's see. No, I can't see it.
The address is in the name of my documents.
Okay.
Now you can probably ask him, why would you do that? I'm glad you asked. Well, how many offers do I have here?
Quite a few. I can't read.
Okay, so how do I know which one goes to what? So let's say there's 5. I know I don't have all the as is in here. But
Okay.
let's say that all these are in here. So I have 5 versions of the as is. So I know that this as is goes to that address.
Right.
So that when I go to command and I need to pull up, if you remember when you pull documents in command,
Mm-hmm.
that's where is he at? Active. Mr. Manuel. So if I wanted to add a document, and we'll just say I'm going to go to under contract. If I want to add a document for the sales contract or the as is contract, when I click on add a file, now I'm going to tell it to go to the DocuSign room. That's where I want the file to be taken from. One reason that I like, other than the fact that I can put as is, but I see there's that one, there's as is. This is also a reason I do the names of the folders. So let's say the first one just was the one that he's going to go with.
Okay.
I generally, this is when I started realizing the mistake of my ways. And I changed it so when I get, I'm going to show you a recent room. When I send it to my buyer and he signs it, it says signed. When I send it to the listing agent, they send it back to me with their signed. I changed the name of the document to at the end, so it says executed.
Okay.
Because I want them to see executed. This is the one that needs to be in command.
Okay.
So I know what is executed or final. Something that allows you to know that this is the final version. This is the one that I need to put in command. So if it says signed, I know my part is the only one that signed. Now, of course, there's certain documents. If it's my buyer, the buyer's broker disclosure, he's the only one that needs to sign that. Buyer agreement, he's the only one that needs to sign that.
Right.
I use common sense. But if it's something like the as-is contract where my buyer has to sign and the seller has to sign, then I need the word executed at the end so that I know that this is the one that needs to go into command for compliance reasons.
Okay. Gotcha.
That makes sense?
Yes.
We good, Lawrence? Did I catch you asleep?
I was zoned out. My bad.
That's all right, man. I know how it is. It's been a long day.
We already
brother.
covered it.
I know. How you doing, Kevin?
Well, since I haven't had the luxury of playing with it yet, I'm a little behind the rest of y'all.
And I'm still there for everybody. You know that.
It actually, even after all that you and I did at the last convention, the final person that got it fixed was Scott Leroy.
What do you have to do?
He called DocuSign and got him on the phone and got it working on Monday.
There you go.
So that was Labor's idea, and it's now working. So I know it was tested yesterday. I just have to get the next listing and use it and play with it and see if I can make it work.
There's no if. There's do or do not. There's no try.
Well, I don't have to try. I've always got DocuSign to fall back on. I mean, .loop to fall back on.
Well, if
That's
you're
what the
paying
bold
for
law
it.
says.
What's that?
That's what the bold law says, Kevin.
We don't have to try. We have fallback plans. We
You
have
have
contingency
excuses
plans.
or you can have results, but not both.
Well, I don't know.
Listen to us teaching him about bold now. Come on.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
You may have that discussion with a few Redfin agents. I understand 41% of them were laid off today.
Oh, the poor things.
Shut, I got to deal with one of them. Are you serious?
Yes. The owner
You're not laid off. What are you worried about?
Oh,
The
no,
owners-
They were furloughed.
The
Yeah,
owner
furloughed.
the owner sold the company, and 71% of the office was laid off, and 41% of the agents were furloughed.
Yeah.
So that's 41% of the agents at Redfin are ready to be recruited.
Hoorah. Damn,
No
I'm going to
wonder-
be
no
busy,
wonder the
aren't
guy
I?
called me back. That's
Don't
crazy.
tell Lawrence that. He's already the profit share king.
No, Darlene's the profit share queen. She
Yeah, I
already
think-
works for free. She gets paid to work here.
That's then she shares out with Kip Maycumber. He's the one that's got that title as well. He gets paid to go to work. That's awesome.
Anyway, in all seriousness, did that help anyone at all? Did it, like I said, because it's more of I didn't want to go to too grand of details, but at the same time I didn't want to go so general that it answered no questions.
Well, I like the one thing you said where the initials, when you place them once, you just box them around and drop them the rest of the places. That was pretty cool.
As long as it's in the same place on the page, it works great, especially like with the seller's property disclosure.
And
then
actually,
if it
every
doesn't, you can
contract.
drag it around. Yeah, bottom of the contract.
Yep.
Are you going to share the recording on our page, Chuck?
I would be more than happy to do so. If everyone had a good laugh at our expense, what can we say? But
True.
anyway, I thank everyone for attending. Like I said, I'm making sure also everyone still remembers I am available. I have my Calendly link, which I still use. Ask everyone to sign up. That's so that I can know who's there, and I can also show my beautiful MCAs. This is who's using me. Gives them a record. But if you do have any questions, please keep in mind I too am trying to stay afloat.
Well,
I'm
I
doing
did.
my- I'm
I
doing my
didn't
pivot.
find you. I didn't find you through Calendly. I found you because you told me the Zoom number. I never did get a Calendly link.
You should have seen it. It was in Facebook too.
Yeah, I saw the link, but it wasn't giving me the link to this. So
Correct. It wasn't giving the whole link.
And that's why I asked you, because I know you would generally be on it. So that's what I'm saying. I'll have to see what happened with the invite thing.
yeah.
That's
Thank
fine.
you, Kevin, for sharing it. Thank you so much, Chuck, for doing this. This was
You're very
great.
welcome. I'm the one that's supposed to get to work with all of you. So thank you for your patience, and then let me know if I can help.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank
All
you
right,
so
everyone.
much.
I'm gonna stop
Appreciate it.
recording, and we'll have it to you.
Be safe. Woo.
Hey, Ingrid just joined us at the last minute. Look at that.